afternoon, Dr. Avery.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Okay, we are live.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maritza Estremera Jimenez, and I am filling in for our Finance Chair, Jennifer Perez. This is a call to order of the Finance Committee. The time is currently 6 p.m., and this meeting will be held virtually. We have, in terms of the Finance Committee members, we have William Medina on the line. We also have other board members, Albert Benahan Grajales on the line. And that's it in terms of board members. We also have Dr. Avery on the line, and other cabinet members. So first thing on the agenda, we have approval of meeting minutes. The first one is regular meeting August 20th, 2025. Is there a motion for approval of those meeting minutes?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, any objections or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the motion passes. The second item for approval of minutes is special meeting September 8th, 2025. Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you, and I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, that motion also passes. The next item that we have is a presentation of Council of Great City Schools. I believe they're going to present at 6:30. Is that correct, or do we have them on the line?
Maritza, I think you're correct. They're supposed to come on at 6:30. They had other commitments.
Okay. Okay, so can I have a motion to move item number 2, presentation from Council of Great City Schools, down further on the line? And if I'm not doing this, please correct me. This is my first meeting.
No, so moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll second it, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any objections or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, that motion also passes. So we're going to go down to item 3, which is referral to the full board of the legal services. And I believe this will be a presentation from Mr. Pierce. Would you like to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This item was it was out to bid, put out to bid on an RFP back in July. We had 3 responses come back. This is for the legal services for the Board of Education. The contract for the current attorney was up, and we had to put this out to bid again. I think there was a long discussion in one of our a few board meetings ago where it was decided to go ahead and issue the RFP. As a result of this RFP, we had 3 law firms who responded. The committee met and they scored all of the responses. They reviewed the responses. And there's a winner or a selected firm based on the scoring and the interviewing. And that law firm is Shipman and Goodwin. I believe you have the response. I believe you also have the score sheets of how the committee graded and scored all of the responses. And the next steps are now I need to file an application with the Bridgeport Purchasing Board to have them approve the process, which is mandated by ordinance, and have it moved to the full board for enter into a contract negotiation with the selected firm. So that's the crux of what's before you today. And I just need you to have any questions. I'm here to answer.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I'll take Finance Committee member questions first, and then I'll open it up to everyone else.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pyrus. How you doing? Good evening.
I'm good. How are you,
See
sir?
you again. Good. Where, as far as the financial part of it, just to touch bases shortly, how are they compared to the other two firms that were also in the process?
So the criteria for scoring the RFP, cost is one component of that needs to be scored. This particular vendor was scored the lowest. They were probably the most expensive according to their response. But they scored higher in the other categories, which allows them to move forward. So let me caution you with that. So in their financial proposal, they do allow you to negotiate their rates in terms of the packages that you choose to utilize them for example. So they have a component within their proposal that allows, I'll get to it in a second, that's on page 23 of their proposal, which is an alternative fee arrangements. And under those alternative fee arrangements, we can dictate to them what types of matters that we're allowing them to handle, and what the costs associated with those matters are. Again, I think it's prudent of us on our behalf to utilize the city attorney's office for as much as possible, but there's always those matters that could, justify having an outside counsel. And I'll let the superintendent and even the board chair decide which ones those are. But that's the to answer your question, they were the highest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's all right now, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And for the record, I'd also like to note that board member Joe Sokolovic has also joined the meeting. Are there any other questions? Okay. Can I have a motion then for referral to the full board of the legal services?
So move, Madam Chair.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, that item also passes. We'll go on to the next item, item number 4, which is update from the Chief Financial Officer on the current state of the district's finances.
Thank you,
Nestor,
Madam
would you
Chair.
like to take it away? You're welcome. Thank you, Tony.
Nestor, you're up, my friend.
And you're on mute if you're talking.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Good,
see him on. Yeah, there he
good,
goes.
good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Well, as far as the current year financial report is concerned, it's generally too early. The first quarter is when you get an idea of what the trends are, meaning after the first quarter, which is after September, we will do first quarterly report in October, which gets published. That's when we know actual positions we filled in the district as far as teachers are concerned. So, and that's when we are going to be able to project based on the number of teachers that have been hired and filled and positions not filled, then we can try to determine the year end of what we're looking at and see how everything is falling into place. So I can't really, for now, like I said, the budget is tough. The budget is tight. The budget is squeaky tight. And I said it when the board was adopting the budget. In a nutshell, the budget contains almost $6.5 million in attrition savings. Attrition savings means positions that will not be filled or filled on time to generate that savings in salaries. However, if people realized or noticed or read the newspaper, the state technical team or the state made it a point, most of the special ed positions have been filled. So that eats into the anticipated savings or attrition. So the $6.5 million savings in attrition will not be there because most of the positions have been filled. So that could dampen or lead into more stress at the end of the year. The second one is the transportation that the state has indicated they found money or they're bringing back. The end result next year is where is the board gonna find the money to continue that service of providing transportation? So that's a daunting task of its own right there. And as far as I know, there's articles going out in the paper. The federal government is going to basically reduce all the title grants, Title 1, 2, 3, 4, and Title 4A or 4B. That's a total of $3.8 million. If the federal government cuts those grants next year, that becomes another additional uphill battle for next year's budget. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I'm trying to relate the facts here of what we're going to be facing. One good news is that we ended up last fiscal year in the operating budget. Like I proposed, the board had originally adopted last year's budget to use $26 million of the internal service fund, the savings that the city district had. And when I took over, I said, that's kind of a little dangerous and kind of not prudent to use up all your reserve. That I'm proposing to use $22 million and carry over a little more of it to balance this year's budget. We ended up last year, or the year has been ended. The comptroller's office have done what they call hard close. Hard close means the year has ended. All the entries have been entered into the ledger. That's what hard close means. Meaning it's just for the auditors, the external auditors, to ratify the numbers, which is not a big, to me, the numbers are numbers. We only use $22 million, just like I presented in my first budget presentation. So we contained the use of the fund balance last year to $22 million. That is good because we took a very proactive approach by doing operational freeze, kind of somewhat hiring freeze also, cut out all the seminars and conferences in the hotels. Every little bit helps. So we started early. I mean, it was middle of the year, but at least we tightened our belts, is what I'm saying, to not have used the $26 million that the board had originally adopted of the internal service fund. We only used 22. That was my goal, that was my target, and that's where we ended up, which is good. But again, the board used up 9.5 million of almost the remaining 9.5 million of the internal service fund to balance this year budget. What that means, after this year, if we end up this year breaking even, there's no additional reserve for next year budget. So for next year budget, for starters, we have to look for that $9.5 million of reserve that we use this year to balance this year budget. We have to look for it for next year. Then you have about $12 to $13 million, or $14 million actually, normal cost of living increase that will reoccur next year. The normal 4% transportation increase, that's different from extending the transportation. The utilities, health insurance that goes up. This year it went up 11%, the state health insurance rate. Then you have about $8.5 million of wage increase for all district employees. You add them all up, you're looking at $14 million. Tag on $14 million to the 9.5 that you're going to be looking for the internal service fund that will not reoccur. Automatically, you're looking at starting next year with $24 million gap. Again, I don't want to scare people. I just want to put it out there or remind people the huddle or the uphill battle we're facing next year. Then the big question becomes, are you going to continue the transportation that the state has funded this year? There's no recurring money to fund it next year. The state budget is a biannual budget. Biannual budget means FY 2026 and FY 2027 budget has already been adopted. We're not getting a penny more. The district neither anybody getting a penny more next year in next year budget, which the state has already adopted for 2027. So there's no wiggle room there, is what I'm trying to get to. So we're not going to say we're going to advocate. The budget is done sealed. We could go back on the special session and advocate, but to be clear, we're going to be asking for not $24 million. We're going to be asking for no less than $35 million from the state in order to stabilize this district. I mean, I hope I'm not scaring people, but I'm just relating the facts.
Thank you, Mr. Nicole. And I do want to add for the record, Finance Chair Jen Perez has joined the meeting. I do have a few questions in terms of everything you just mentioned, Mr. Nicole, and then I'll go around to all the different finance committee board members, and then I'll go to the other folks as well. So in terms of the SPED positions, you referenced the $6.5 million. Let the record also note that board member Robert Traber has also joined the meeting. So in terms of the SPED positions that we have that we filled finally, which is great, you referenced the $6.5 million. And now there's special education expansion funds out there. Can we use some of that money to fill that at $6.5 million? I realize that that expansion money, I believe, was $5 million, so it won't cover everything. So that's the first question.
The expansion money is $2.6 million, which is called the Seed Development Grant. And it specifically says it's for development of new SPED programs. So, and that's what was part of what was used to balance this year budget. If the board remembers, I applied it towards balancing this year budget with the understanding that we will move some of the SPED expenses into that program by redesigning the program as a new program. So the money is already spent, is what I'm trying to say, in balancing the budget.
Thank you. Last item is about the transportation negotiations. Do we have clarity as to how transportation costs went down so significantly from what we were originally paying? My train of thought is, can we duplicate that on our own to reduce our transportation costs?
I'm not privy to that. I'm going to let Dr. Avery answer. I have no idea what the state is doing. I'm sorry.
I'll through the chair, Madam. One of the things that I want the board to kind of realize is that the negotiations between, the city and the state has been a negotiation between the city and state. We were kind of involved with that, but those final numbers, they're still negotiating those final numbers with the state. So we're not even privy to that. We balanced our budget based on what we felt we were going to be able to have to pay for transportation. They're negotiating some things to try to figure out what and how they were going to, subsidize and extend that out. So when they came out with, they wanted to extend that walking distance back down to the original number, we went with that based on what they were going to be negotiating. So Nestor and I were still, working through trying to figure that out. we went with what they said that they were going to be able to negotiate. They're still trying to finalize those numbers. It was far away from what we calculated as the number that we were going to be part of our budget. Now, and those are the numbers that we calculated. Again, totally different than what we have, but we're going to hold them to whatever they negotiated with the bus company and the city to try to balance, what we have. So again, that's what we have, and we're not privy to any other numbers other than what we provided those numbers to the board. Am I correct, Nestor?
Yes. As a matter of fact, too, Madam Chair, I read in the paper that they're reinstating transportation. That's how I found out.
Yeah, same. Thank you. All right, so first person, Willie, you have the floor.
Thank you. On that same note, Mr. Nuquo, you mentioned the 6.5 savings, and then you mentioned that there was a program that Ms. Menace mentioned about cost or savings for special ed. What was that dollar amount you said? I think you said 2.
I think it's 2.6 million for seed program. The attrition of seed program development.
Thank you.
Is special. How I
Thank you.
came to the 6.5 for attrition, so people will understand. We budgeted, I think, $4.5 million for regular straight attrition. Then we budgeted the elimination of 20 teachers, which gave us about 1.7 million. So close to 6.5. When you combine the two numbers, that's how we arrive at the approximately $6.5 million in attrition.
Okay,
so instead of reducing the 20 additional teachers, we literally almost filled all the positions.
Okay, the teacher positions were regular teachers' positions that we eliminated. As far as I'm concerned, it wasn't special ed.
No, it was not special ed, but
correct. So I'm talking about
none of those were special ed or ELL. No. But what I'm trying to say here is we, in aggregate, we factored in to save $6.5 million by delaying or not filling position, teaching position or other positions, immediately. But again, from day one, they're all filled. The school started. We only have like 3 sped teach positions that are not filled, and we're still interviewing to make sure we fill them. The state wants it to be 100%.
Oh, yeah, we all do.
We're still interviewing to fill them, every one of them. Mm-hmm.
So why are we, with all due respect, why are we not getting a report of how we closed out last year, that hard close that you mentioned, everything? Why are we not getting any report as far as, that? I was, expecting, according to this, that we're getting an update, and I'm not really feeling that we got any kind of update right now so far, as far as where we are. I know that you mentioned about, later on in the quarter, then we'll get an update where we are because of this year. But I thought we will get some kind of report, especially what you just mentioned about the hard close, where we ended up at, how we did, all those details, even including those positions that were, apparently hired for the special ed that took up some of the savings and took up some of that $2.6 million that, to me, those numbers add up to almost 10 million. But I just wanted to know, like, why are we not getting anything right now? I thought we would get something, and we're not, I don't see anything.
Okay. Through that chair, when I say hard close is when the comptrollers, not me, the city side of the budget, they do the ledger to the auditors. A hard close means they basically rolled over or closed any other accounting entry for last year. That's what a hard close means. A hard close means, as far as the ledger is concerned, no one can charge anything. Whatever that's charged is booked there. The auditors have to review all those transactions and confirm that this is all the entries, all the expenditures, the variances are all accurate. I cannot provide you a number prior to the auditors looking at them. I could give you where we ended in October. That's when it's due. A preliminary number, but it's unaudited number, just for clarity. But that's where most likely it's going to end.
Nestor, let me chime in a little bit. Mr. Benita, that report is coming. He is actually in the process of finalizing that report. So the board will be provided that information shortly.
I
Dr.
appreciate.
Dr. Avery, with all due respect, I don't want to lead them into what is not on the timeline. October, the last year, where we ended a preliminary number before the auditors finalize it, will be presented to the board in accordance to the timeline. I mean, that's when it's due. That's when it's generally confirmed by the board agenda.
Yes,
I don't want to mislead them and try to, no, there's a timeline, there's a deadline, I have to provide it then. I cannot jump the time. I can't, okay, the comptroller's office are still making journal entries. I cannot provide you a number prior to the journal entries being made, is what I'm trying to say. I just want to be clear.
Nestor, I think he understands that. I think what I think the agenda item tonight was just for an update, and that's what you provided, and I'm okay with that. And so I wanted to make sure that Mr. Medina was clear that that report is going to be coming.
Okay.
Tonight's agenda item was to give you an update of where we are. We've had 2 weeks of school, trying to make sure that everybody understands that we try to get all the hires done, all that. That's what tonight is all about. So good, we're clear. Let's keep it moving, Mr. Jimenez, and we will ask any other additional questions. I'll follow up with individual board members as needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Jimenez. I wasn't finished.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had any further questions.
Yes, I actually do. He mentioned, I just want to make sure I wrote it down right. That's on in this part. Title 1, 2, 3, and 4A, possibly because of the president or whatever, it's about 3.8 for next year's budget that possibly is going to be cut. So we need to kind of like keep that number in mind. That was the number, correct? 3.8?
Yeah, 3.8.
Thank you.
But just for clarity, that 3.8, 920,000 of that 3.8 is Lighthouse program. Which, if you want to discuss, but ultimately it does impact the district, because granted is Lighthouse program, 920,000 of that is Lighthouse program. What it means is that they're not going to be providing Lighthouse program to Bridgeport children. Ultimately, one way or the other, it will affect Bridgeport children.
Well, let me add to that number something that can help us as the board. Can you guys provide through the superintendent that 3.8 and how this does break down on services, that we can have that breakdown, that way we can start thinking about those services that are going to be affected through that 3.8? That'll help us. On another note, just wanted to find out, because some things have been thrown around in the media, some things have been thrown out in the news, some things have been thrown around in through the state Board of Education, some things have been thrown out even with our leadership about the transportation and what's happening with the transportation. I've heard multiple things, and I've read multiple things that some city council members are saying that the city put money in, and then they're saying that they didn't. I'm getting information, now today, that the city and the state are still they're still negotiating. I thought this was already ironed out and done. So I'm just very concerned about the misinformation that's been in. I mean, the state just did an audit of, according to them, only a $14 million piece, that actually they saw a $16 million piece of money that was, done wrong. So I had questions about that then. And now we're still wondering what's happening with this whole transportation again, I will put it under quotation, supposedly a negotiation that gave us this great savings that we were able to restore the services. So I don't know, they even mentioned in their newscast that they found out that the superintendent, supposedly ex-superintendent, had a 10-year contract, which wasn't true. So I'm trying to figure out where the truth lies with this whole transportation, city state deal or with negotiation. I don't know. Is it done? Is it still happening? Do we know the numbers? I'm even more concerned and alarmed.
Mr. Bedina, through the chair, let me clarify what I know, Mr. Bedina. The state of Connecticut and the city of Bridgeport worked out a deal where they were communicating with the transportation department that we transport, that we contract with. They've been working, trying to figure out, making sure that we did not want to start the school year with the kids walking the extra mile, be it elementary school or high school kids. So they've been working together trying to figure that piece out. They told us, they've told the community that they will take care of the cost of reverting back to the original transportation mileage for our children to be able to not have to walk the extra miles. So what we've done is embrace them saying that they will take care of the cost. That's where we are. That's all we know. That's all I've been told. That's all Nestor has been told about being able to do it. So what we did, we've communicated to our families that we're going back to the original mileage that we allow for elementary and high school kids to travel. And from that point, we're relying on the state to be able to take care of the cost of that. That's where we are. That's what I've communicated to the board. That's what Nestor has communicated to the board, and that's what we're standing by. So any additional costs for transportation that is needed, the state of Connecticut is going to take care of that cost. That's where we are. That's what I know. That's what you know, and that's what we're standing by. So again, I'm going on record stating that that's what was told to us, that they will be able to take care of transportation costs so that our kids will not have to walk any further. So Nestor, is that the same information that you received and that you have? Correct?
Through Madam Chair, that's precisely, and I made it clear from the beginning, I wasn't privy to, I read it in the paper just like most board members read. I wasn't privy to read. I asked Dr. Avery, he said, Nestor, I have no idea. No one consulted me as to where the funding source is going to come from, how the state is paying for it. But one thing I will say here, the state taking care of it or trying to subsidize it. The funding is coming from the $5 million that the legislators allocated, which is to be administered by the commissioner. That $5 million for Bridgeport, it's only a one year funding. What I'm trying to say here is non-recurring. So the issue here, yes, the state can use part of that $5 million for this year to provide relief for transportation. What happens 2027 when that $5 million is non-recurring in the state budget? Where will the district or the board find that money to fund this extension next year? That's the big question.
Thanks, Nestor. I just want to chime in really quickly to have the record reflect that Ms. Casimir joined the meeting, please. Mr. Medina, is that for your questions? Do you have any further questions?
Just a short two. Nestor, you just mentioned that $5 million. When are we, or this is maybe towards the superintendent, when are we gonna get a precise allocation if she's gonna decide to allocate the State Department of Education for that $5 million? That they're gonna decide how we are gonna be instructed to spend that money where, because we can't have this $5 million waving up in the air and not knowing, because we can't plan like that. So is there a timeline? Is there a process to finding out that? Because that 5 million continues to be kind of like just dangling over our heads, which is very disrespectful in my opinion.
Through the chair, I can answer that question for you, Mr. Medina. At this time, I have made a personal request to the state regarding those funds. I've given them the allocation of what I would like to see purchased with those funds. The board, Mrs. Perez, has also made that request to the state. So we're at the beck and call of the state for that answer. So I don't have an answer for you on that. I've made a request for that. Jennifer Perez has made a request for that on behalf of the board. And so we're still waiting for how those allocations are going to be presented to Bridgeport Public Schools. And so that's basically all I have. And that request was made several weeks ago when we together as a board and myself, where you guys ranked what you wanted that money to be spent on, that those two recommendations have been presented to the state on behalf of the district. And so we have not heard that. So that's all and that's all the response we've received. And that's pretty much nothing at this point.
Okay, I'm asking that question because I know we've done some questions about some positions and some interviews, and we're looking at upwards of $350,000 right now for these 3 positions that are up and around right now being spoken about. And I just want to figure out where that money is coming from, that way we can make sure that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. But thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it.
And for clarity on that, Ms. Medina, those positions they're already part of the budget. They've already budgeted. So there's no need for any additional dollars to be driven to those. The board approved those already. And that's what we're just trying to kind of fulfill the gaps that we already had in the district with those positions being filled. So those are already there. They're already budgeted. There's no need for any additional dollars to be allocated towards those positions.
Thank you, Dr. Avery. And I just want to ask Ms. Perez, Chair Perez, if she had any questions. I saw you come off mute a few times, so just wanted to check.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to clarify what Dr. Avery clarified it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sokolovic, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, I was doing 2 meetings at the same time, Mr. Nicole. I missed what's the escalated cost and the ask for next year? The total escalation that we're gonna need. You said 30 or something. I wasn't clear.
Again, it's between 24. Again, it depends. I'm gonna put a range, and I'm gonna try to quantify.
Yes, that's fine.
It's between 24 and $30 million. Why is getting up to 30 million? I could say it now is all the big positions are pretty much filled. So the attrition number will not be attained, meaning you're going to have to find those monies or find the savings or cuts to make up those savings as factor that will not materialize, because we just about filled just about every special ed position and ELL position. So carrying them into next year, again, will extend the burden. And secondly, the extension of the restoration of the transportation. Like I said, the funding source, wherever the state is getting the money, which I'm not privileged to, is non-recurring. So the district, either the district or the board will maintain that transportation, then they have to find the money to maintain it.
Gotcha. Okay, the next thing is, I don't want to belabor the points because Mr. Medina made them perfectly, but I just want to bring up that we still got to sign this contract. We're still obligated to whatever contract we got. The board is the signatory on the contract, not the state. And we're justifiably relying on the state's and the city's promises for this funding. And we've got a set budget for transportation. I just want to be very clear. If the state and the city drop the ball and this deal falls through somehow, that we are not to make up that gap without the board without it coming before the board to approve it. Because if they break their promises to restore that funding, that is not on us. That is on them. I just want that to be perfectly clear, that we did not make that promise to the bus company. The city and the state made that promise. They're negotiating the deal, so they own every single dollar that's extra that's coming towards it, not the board. And now, question. I've gotten some reports that we are no longer going to be a one-to-one district on laptops and devices for our K-8 schools. Can you tell me a little about that? Is that funding related or something else?
You're hearing things through the chair. I'm sorry about that. I have not heard that, Mr. Sokolovic. So you're going to have to kind of get with me on your source of information. So nothing has
5 different teachers
my
and an
office.
email.
Excuse me.
5 different teachers and an email coming out of out of the IT department. That they're going back to being budgeted at the school level.
All I can do, all I can say to you is that as nothing's come from my office regarding that, move. And so as soon as I get off this call with you, I will be talking to the technology director for clarification, because nothing has come from my office as the move from a one-to-one device. So I apologize for that getting to you and not getting to me. And so all I have to do is check and verify, and that's what I'm doing.
No problem. Can you have a report you think you could get it by the board meeting so we could get an update?
I can't guarantee you that, sir. I will find out what I can find out, and then I will get some clarity as to where that information is coming from. So I'll have somewhat of an idea for you Monday, by Monday's meeting, but I can't guarantee you exactly a detailed report of anything. So I'll get you what I can, and I'll give the board an update at that time.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sokolovic. So we are going to return to our second agenda item, which is the presentation from Council of the Great City Schools, and we have Mr. Hart with us. Thank you so much for your patience while we work through that.
That's quite all right. Thank you all very much for having me. So Chair Perez, members of the Board of Education, and Superintendent Avery, it's honor and pleasure to be here with you. I'm Ray Hart. I am the Executive Director with the Council of the Great City Schools, and just wanted to share a few things with you. My understanding is that you just wanted to understand a little better what the benefits of being a member of the Council of Great City Schools it means to the district, as well. I'd like to take any of your questions that you might have about the services and the supports that we provide. And you just had a conversation at the time that I joined about your Title I, Title II, Title III funding, other funding, Title IV, and other funding that comes from the federal government. Just want you to know, and I'll share with you a little bit about what we advocate for on your behalf. We have been diligently, as a matter of fact, I was on Capitol Hill this afternoon. I just left a couple of meetings there to come back and join this meeting. And I'm going back to some other meetings here in Washington, D.C. But our advocacy is really to make sure that the funding that comes to you from the federal government, from an advocacy standpoint, I'll talk about other supports. The funding that comes to you from the federal government comes directly to you and is earmarked for you. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to share. Actually, I can't share my screen, but I shared 2 documents with you, and I was going to share my screen. One of the documents that I shared earlier this afternoon is the benefits of member services. And one of the funding figures on there is actually what we advocate for you on Capitol Hill, and that is targeted funding directly to your school district that is targeted for the students that you serve. And that amount comes to about $3.9 million. Last fiscal year, I'll be sharing a new report with you this year that will share this year's fiscal targeting, but also know that, for example, this summer, when your funding was withheld, we directly advocated, worked directly with the Office of Management and Budget, directly with the U.S. Department of Education to get that funding released, and worked throughout the month of July, both myself and our team here, to get that funding released for you. Those are the types of things that we do, and just in terms of advocacy. And then what we'll continue to do, you all mentioned the president's budget. The president's budget is a proposed budget. And throughout history, both from the Biden administration as well as from previous Trump administration, the Obama administration, presidential proposed budgets never get enacted, and we advocate to ensure that additional funding comes to you. We'll do so. We'll continue to do so throughout this year as Congress works through either a continuing resolution, which we expect that they may do should there not be a government shutdown, or a full budget proposal. We'll make sure that those funds continue to come to you unhindered. The other things that I'll share with you that are important to note about council services, for those of you who aren't familiar with the Council of the Great City Schools, we have been around since 1956. And during that time, we have supported only the interest of large urban school districts, of which there are 81 member districts around the country. You are one. But one of the things that we do, you mentioned, transportation, obviously finances, food services, facilities, other things. Our primary role is to keep you connected to other major school districts around the country. And our objective is to make sure that both your leadership team as well as your staff have access to the best ideas, best practices of your peers and your colleagues. I was in a district this morning. Actually, I flew in from a district this morning to join the meetings that I had on the Hill. Tomorrow, I am in meetings here in DC, and then I fly back to districts tomorrow afternoon. I'll be in districts tomorrow through the weekend. I finish next week in Albuquerque, come back here, and then I'm in Dallas. I'm actually in Orlando, Florida at the end of next week. So our real job is to not only to provide support here in Washington, D.C., but to provide direct support to our districts. The second document that I shared with you is an overview of our member benefits, and I'll talk more about that. But essentially, as board members, but as well as other staff, our primary role in supporting you, and that second document says supporting America's Great City Schools, a summary of our member benefits. If you glance through that document, what you'll see are a number of services around leadership, around governance, around management services. Everything that you do in the district, we support in some way, shape, or form by connecting districts to each other. My visit early next week is actually an IT review. In one of our member districts, we do human resources reviews, we do special education reviews. All year long, we do HR reviews. You may note that Milwaukee Public Schools, as an example, has had fiscal challenges. We have stepped in to support Milwaukee Public Schools over the course of this summer, last spring, and this summer. The state was withholding about a little $40 million plus from the school district because of some financial challenges. We stepped in earlier in the summer. The state to date, after we stepped in, has now released about 32 million of the 40 million, and then we're working with the state to get the remainder of the funds released. So whatever you call on us for, as a council, we will either connect you with peers or colleagues around the country, or we will provide direct supports to the district in any way that you see fit. So one, just want to lift up what's available. It's the services that we provide are not just in the academic side of things, but we do provide significant academic supports. As a matter of fact, later next week when I'm in Orlando, Florida, we'll be working with about 7 of our districts, all on mathematics. We are bringing those districts together to really improve mathematics outcomes for those districts at their request. So we'll actually be working with 7 districts. There are about 120 people who will be coming to a program that we're supporting and lifting up to get additional work together across the state of Florida on improving mathematics outcomes. We also do the same. We'll be doing the same for core curriculum, reading, math, science, social studies for another 6 districts in November. So what you'll see in that document is just an overview of the services that we provide, the supports that we provide. We are a unique organization in that we offer the services, and obviously there are dues. Your dues pay for our advocacy and support, but we also offer additional services as districts request. And so one of the unique things about us is we'll come in as you request and provide any services or supports that the district needs around any aspect of instruction, both instruction and management and operations side of the house for your districts. Finally, we provide a lot of advocacy for you here in Washington, D.C., which I talked about earlier, but we do work with Congress. We work with all of the departments here. We have interfaced this summer with the Department of Homeland Security. We've also interfaced with the Department of Education, as I mentioned earlier, the Office of Management and Budget at the White House. And so we still continue to work with those independent of administration. So we are a nonpartisan organization, independent of the administration that is in place. We continue that role and continue that support on your behalf. We also host a number of roll-alike meetings all year long for your staff. And so there are, there's a list of them in the document, but those roll-alike meetings actually provide for your staff an opportunity to connect to their peers around the country. Those roll-alike meetings are in a number of different areas: finance, procurement, special education. We have groups around, we have independent auditors that get together. Earlier today, we had our Chief Human Resource Officers meeting, roll-alike meeting. We do those both virtually on a monthly basis or sometimes quarterly, but we also have roll-alike meetings throughout the year. So our annual fall conference, which is our largest meeting, will come up in October, and that's primarily geared for board members and superintendents and cabinet level staff. But immediately following that, we have a chief financial officers meeting. We'll have a chief human resources officers meeting in February. Chief operations officers, others throughout the year. So just to mention a few. So you'll see in there those roll-alike meetings. What you'll also see are a number of reports that we produce. Those reports are free and open to you as a district, but those reports are really providing guidance to our districts on best practices. The interesting thing about the work that we do as well is that we don't rely on our staff expertise, even though the majority of our staff have served careers in large urban school districts. My last school district that I was a part of was Atlanta Public Schools. We have staff from around the country who've been actually staff members in school districts or school board members for large urban school districts. So we have both, but we don't always rely on just our expertise. What we do when we come in to work with you is actually bring in the expertise of individuals who are currently sitting in the role, for example, current chief human resource officers or recently retired chief human resource officers. I'm using those as examples, but whatever supports you might need, we provide those with those who have had extensive experience, specifically with large urban districts. So I don't want to take up too much of your time just in terms of my talking, but happy to answer any questions that you might have about the services that we provide, the advocacy that we provide on your behalf, not only here in Washington, D.C., but then also our availability to you in the district as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. I have a few questions and then I'll open it up to our finance committee members and then to the rest of the group. So it sounds like you can and your team can advocate on behalf of Bridgeport, not just on a federal level, but also on a state level and also a local level. So if you needed to support us, let's say city council in Bridgeport, to get additional funds from them, would you also be able to do that?
We can. So recently I testified before the state legislature in Kentucky at the request of Jefferson County Public Schools. We interact with state legislatures, again, as requested. And so it really depends on our district needs, your needs as a district. But the answer is yes. We can advocate on your behalf in a number of different ways. One of the things we also like to do is we actually do quite a bit. One of the core elements of the work that we do is around research, data analysis. So we have a research team, one of the few national organizations with a really robust research team. Have one of the best research directors in the country here who also served in one of our member districts. And ironically, I came to the council initially as the council's research director. My background is actually in research, measurement, and statistics. So prior to serving in this role, I actually served as the council's research director for 8 years. And I also served in school districts as research director over the course of my career. So one of the things that we base our advocacy on behalf of our districts is actually utilizing data, statistics, data analysis to really advocate for here's what's actually going on the ground in the district to support the additional needs, the additional funding. We do that here in Washington, D.C., but we also do that locally as well.
Thank you. And my last question, and I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question, but everything you said sounds great. How much does this cost?
Great question. So the dues vary, and I can't. They went up. I'll pull up while we're talking what your dues are for this year. But they range between. And depends on the size of the district. So it's all tiered based on the size of the district. It ranges between about $32,000 a year and $60,000 a year. But that $60,000 is for our largest districts, like in New York City, et cetera. And I mentioned earlier, for every dollar in dues you pay, the direct services that we've been able to provide in terms of focused funding for you, and that's on that second page of the document that I shared with you, benefits of council member services. You get about $104 for every dollar you pay in dues. You get about $104 back in what we've been able to target in funding for you from the federal government. So it's actually you're paying for your dues about 100 times over in what you get back in federal targeting for funding.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Committee members, do you have any questions? Okay. Seeing no questions, does anyone else from the group have any questions? Mr. Benahan Grajales.
Thank you, Ms. Jimenez. Hello, Mr. Hart. Question: the amount of money is going to be every year, or is it
The dues payment is an annual payment, so it is every year annually, and again, the return on investment is annual as well. But yes, the dues payment is annual.
Can you repeat again how much on the amount you said? Please?
I'm looking up the exact amount, so I'll give you in just a second, just 2 seconds. Okay. I'll give you the exact amount for your district.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jimenez.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions while Mr. Hart looks that up for us?
Yes, please. I'm sorry. I couldn't get my hand up. I apologize.
No problem.
And I apologize because I'm running in between meetings myself. I got about 3 meetings happening almost at the same time. But I have a basic general question. I'm not sure if we approach you guys or you approach us, understanding that. Why Bridgeport at this moment in time?
So we haven't approached you. Bridgeport has been a member of the council for many years. So you have not, this isn't a new membership for you. This is a membership that you all have participated in for several decades. I can look up the exact amount. One of the things that you'll note, and you all may be familiar with this, in all of our member districts, so, and I've got the exact figure for you, so I'll tell you what Bridgeport's dues were last year. Bridgeport's dues last year were $38,940. That last year was actually the first year you have not paid dues. but you pay dues annually, and you have paid dues annually prior to that. So about $38,940. Our districts, our member districts, actually I mentioned there are 81 of them around the country. What is unique about your district in the state of Connecticut, which is similar to our districts around the country? If you look at New York City, if you look at Chicago, even Des Moines, Iowa, Omaha, Nebraska, they are all members of the council. And what's unique is even though Omaha, Nebraska, and Des Moines, Iowa are not the same size as Chicago and New York, their unique place within their state is that they are the largest urban district in their state. And so what is similar across all of our member districts is that your unique place is that you're the largest urban district in your state. It's the reason Jefferson County is Louisville, Kentucky. But Louisville is looked upon very differently in the state of Kentucky than all the other districts in the state. Similarly, in many of our other districts, Nashville, Tennessee, Memphis. I will be in Memphis in a couple of weeks. We were there about a week ago. Be back in Memphis. We work with some of their state leaders there as well. And the reason we do is because they are unique to the state of Tennessee. They are Memphis and Nashville, the largest urban districts in the state. They don't look like the other districts in the state. Bridgeport is very similar. You will be unique across the state. I know you've got Hartford, other districts, and actually they aren't eligible for council membership. Our membership is only eligible to either the largest urban districts in the state or to districts that have a minimum of 25,000 students and a minimum city size of 250,000 residents. So we actually turn away more school districts than we admit every year. So every year we get far more districts that come to us asking for membership than we actually admit to membership. Does that help answer your question?
Definitely a part of it. I'm gonna actually just take a seat back, and I think Dr. Avery wants to add something. So I do have a follow up, but go ahead, Dr. Avery.
Through the chair, thank you, Ms. Bonita, Madam Chair. Mr. Hart, thank you for your quick overview. I appreciate that. I'm very familiar with your organization, and I think one of the things you made a really good point about the uniqueness of Bridgeport. I am in the interim school superintendent role right now, serving the board, serving the community. And we're in a state where we're trying to figure out how to navigate with the lack of funds provided to large urban school districts like Bridgeport. And we've been trying to advocate for dollars for years with no success. And I know this district has been part of the organization for several years. Last year, we started seeing the lack of dollars to be able to provide for children in the district. So the previous superintendent prior to me, felt that, and the board felt the need not to utilize those funding, right? Is there an opportunity where your organization could work with us? We just went through a $37 million deficit. We were able to balance the budget at the time, but we also, as we look at our finances, you probably heard a little bit of that when you first came into the meeting, to be able to work with us a little bit to uniquely try to provide membership. But because there is a huge need for this community, and we're pretty much kind of like by ourselves in this great state of Connecticut. And I think we have to do our business a little different. We're going to have to kind of rally around other organizations to really put, Bridgeport at the heart of what's coming up, because at the end of the year, this district will be devastated because we're not going to have enough dollars to do the work for children of this district. And so it's concerning. And I think that's one of the reasons why the board is so, adamant about strategically figuring out how we're going to do this work. And I know your organization does a really good job of supporting, my leadership team, in making sure they're sharp and they understand how to advocate, what to do. But right now we're at a state where we really don't know. We really need some help, and I may need to reach out to you on a private note to have a deeper conversation about this. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there for you so that you could kind of understand the state that we're in. And it's troubling for me as an educator of 30 plus years to be where we are right now in this district. And so hopefully you will be able to kind of take that in and kind of understand and come back with us with a proposal to kind of maybe, provide a different level of support, maybe not the amount that we are entitled to pay right now, but something else. So again, I rambled a little bit, but I wanted to make sure I gave and hopefully, board, you will understand why I did what I did to make sure him understanding what our needs are at the moment.
Completely understand what your needs are, and you're not alone. So obviously, I mentioned earlier that we're working with a number of different districts around the country. You are still members of the council, by the way. You didn't pay your dues last year, but our bylaws stipulate that missing dues in a year doesn't mean that you're no longer members. So all of the services that I talked about are still available to you. Our resources are available to you. So happy to talk about that offline, about how we might be able to provide some support for you as we move forward. And then we can also talk offline about, any additional support you might need as we go throughout the year.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank both of you guys for your passion, because I heard it through that brief conversation and with everything that our superintendent said. So I would actually, this committee to maybe, my recommendation is to table this matter. That way that relationship can grow, and then we can come back with a plan, after you gentlemen.
Point of order. There's no action item today, so we're just hearing presentation.
Thank you very much. There's no action item, because I would love to have that conversation, because we got to look at every avenue that can support and increase. And I like that that ratio that for every dollar that's being spent, we're getting like 104. It's we're getting a return for our money. And right now, with our current and future financial situation, every dollar that I can't put into the classroom, it's being scrutinized and looked at heavily and with our own hearts. So I do whole reservation on spending any kind of money, especially after I can't even get a hotel room to be able to get trained. But that goes beyond that personal. So thank you very much for your time. That's all, Madam Chair.
Mr. Naquo?
Yes, through Madam Chair. Mr. Hart, my question, I guess, from my understanding, Bridgeport is the only district that's a member in Connecticut. Am I right or wrong?
That is correct. Bridgeport is the only member district in Connecticut.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Traber?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I got disconnected, so I don't know if this got answered. And Mr. Medina had asked why Connecticut. And I know that this organization was a part of us, and then we dropped the ball ourselves. And so I understand the financial question has come up and needs to be answered, but the organization has been here for a long while, and we were in the middle of doing some very constructive work before the ball got dropped by us. So if we can afford to continue working with them, it may very well be very helpful to us, and it's worth looking at. We obviously have a financial concern that we need to deal with, and it's a legitimate concern that we need to resolve given our current situation. But I just want to throw that my 2 bits in, that we were in the middle of doing some very constructive work, and then all of a sudden, boom, they disappeared. And we didn't understand why at the time, but it turned out that the superintendent's predecessor just decided to drop it. So we're revisiting the question of how we can have a constructive relationship with this organization. And that's, I think, where we're at, is just looking at, can we reestablish a constructive relationship that will be helpful to us, as I understand it. And it's up in the air, and that's all this is the beginning of a discussion. So that's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, Mr. Traber. Ms. Perez?
Thank you, Mr. Hart, for the presentation. I think the reason I added it to this agenda was, you know, similar to what Mr. Traber was saying, that we've been paying for this service for years, but as a board, most of us on the board, really didn't know what that meant. So, we really didn't realize, the work that you've done for Bridgeport. I'm looking at the PDF you sent over. And so, I think in looking at that and looking at to see what else the council can offer us, and also speaking with my network of board chairs who are also in the Council of Great City Schools. I know the service is there's a lot of great feedback from the other board chairs that I know who are part of this organization, and just looking at what you guys have provided for us, even in the recent years where we haven't been using the services that often. I think that that's something to take note of, because if we actually, work together, I think that federal funding will be handy, to say the least. But also, that I like the fact that professional developments that are offered for administrators. I think that's something that that we can definitely use more of. And I think I'm frozen. I'm moving out. I'm having bad Wi-Fi. I don't know if okay, it's good. Okay.
Yep, you're good.
So, but yeah, so I just want to thank you for that. And I know that, so, there is no action item on this. I just wanted a presentation for the board, because a lot of the board members are newer, and like myself, and we really didn't know all the services that you provide. So when we see, hey, pay these dues, and we're like, well, for what? We don't know what
Right.
they're in for. I think this puts it into perspective. And the return on investment is really what I was looking for. And I see
Thank
that.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the request.
Sorry. Mr. Grajales?
Take us a minute. Mr. Hart, you say how long this service is with us for VOE?
Beg pardon? I didn't catch that question.
How long you say your organization, the service is with Board of Education?
I'd have to look back to see when specifically Bridgeport became a member, but we've been around since 1956. So the organization itself has supported, again, we supported just urban school districts. And then over the years, we've had different districts. But you mentioned earlier, why just Bridgeport? We only support most of the districts. Last I checked, I think Hartford probably would be the only other one that may be eligible. But for the most part, there's only 1 or 2 school districts in most of our states. Texas, California are exceptions, but in most of the states, there's only 1 or 2 districts that are even large enough and have city sizes large enough to be eligible for membership. So the reason that's good for us is we focus specifically on large urban school district needs. So when you talk about, your interaction with your state, et cetera, that's all we do.
But correct me if I'm wrong, because my question is, if we paying this service every year, because, and I know Ms. Perry bring it, because like you said, Ms. Perry, we paying, we have this service and we don't use it. I didn't know. This is my second turn as a board member, and this is the first time I heard that. So you want to tell me years back they was paying this, and all the board members, or superintendent formers or board members never bring this to the board, because this is my second turn.
Point on that. Yeah. It was voted on 2 years ago for us to be on the dues for it. And then last year was brought before the board, I believe in October or November, and tabled. Because I know I think a few of us wanted more details on. There was 3 different items that were brought before us that day for memberships, and we tabled those items like late October, November. So, but before that, the year before that, we did pay for the dues. We voted on that.
Okay, so it was okay, and then we pay for that, and we never use it. So
And just so you know, you are obviously we're advocating for you. So you are, and as members, we are again targeting funding specifically for you for your district. We did so again this year. I mentioned earlier the way our board of directors or our bylaws are laid out, you have to miss 2 consecutive years of not paying dues to not become a member any longer. But as long even when you didn't pay dues last year, we still advocated on your behalf. So we're still working on your behalf here.
Ms. Perry, question, do we have more information what this organization do, what they gave to Bridgeport Public Schools? Because I didn't see in my information.
What he just went through, the packets that he couldn't share his screen, but they're in our portal. It was added this afternoon.
It's possible, so how you can send it to us, to send it to Madam Chair, Ms. Perry, and you can share with us?
It's on our portal. We have it already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
We got it. Yeah, we got it this afternoon. So Danielle uploaded it this afternoon. It shows what they can offer and also what they've offered Bridgeport and done for Bridgeport
you
the
say
past few years.
this afternoon. I just got here. I didn't have a chance to see it. All right.
Mhm.
But thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the total, and Tahar, you said, what is your total every year?
38,000 last year was $38,940. That goes up every year there's a cost of living adjustment that our board of directors, of which the superintendent and one of your board members, whoever is the board representative, sometimes the board chair, but those 2 individuals are on our board of directors automatically. The committee, our board, set up several years ago that escalates every year by a cost of living adjustment that occurs in November. So just so you know, this year it would be for Bridgeport $39,991, but it hasn't in the last decade. It hasn't gone. It's been basically in the $30,000 range annually.
So you don't know exactly how much every year they go up?
It goes up based on the inflation rate in November. So there's every year it typically goes up 2 or 3%.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much, Mr. Hart, for the great presentation. That actually concludes all the items on our agenda. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr.
Any objections or abstentions? Hearing none. Meeting ends at 7:17 p.m. Thank you all for joining. Have a great evening.
Good
Thank
job,
you all
Mr.
very much for your
Thank
time.
you, everyone.
Mr.
Good
Hart,
night.
Mr. Hart, I'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Good job, Mr. Jimenez.
Thanks.